Hey y'all, it's Dan, your friendly fishmonger from dansfish.com, and today I want to show you how I culture scuds, go a little more in depth. I've had a lot of people asking me about that recently, and there seems to be a lot of interest. So it's a neat live food, it's pretty easy to raise. Let me show you how we do it. So what I use for the scuds is this aquarium right here. It's a 20-gallon long, and I treat it just like I would most of my other aquariums. So it's a bare bottom tank and has a sponge filter in it. Just like fish, the scuds will produce ammonia, and you need a filter to convert the ammonia so that it doesn't become toxic to them. Now, here's how I feed them. This right here is a section of pumpkin. So I had leftover pumpkin around Halloween, so I sliced a bunch of it into these big cubes and froze it. And what I'll do is just every now and then I'll take a chunk out, thaw it, stick it on the fork and sink it in there. And as you can see, there are scuds all over that. And what they like to eat is mostly vegetable matter of some kind. So they like almost anything that you can put in there. Table scraps, I put in apple peels, apple cores, banana they really like. Your old brown bananas you don't want to eat, they'll love it. So that's how I keep them. I do change the water. This is on an auto water change system, or if you keep fish, change it just like you would fish. And I use carbon to remove my chlorine, so I'm not sure if prime or dechlorinator would harm scuds or not, but I don't think so. I think it would be fine. So you put them in there, you treat them just like fish, keep food in there and make sure that the ammonia doesn't spike too high or anything, although they're pretty darn tolerant of ammonia and things. But and just feed them vegetable matter of some kind. Algae wafers are good, they like that too. But table scraps are free, so that's what I use. One thing I think is important to success with scuds is live plants. So I use water Sprite, and I have it floating on top. And the reason I think it's important is because if they ate all this and I didn't notice for a day or so, I wouldn't want them to starve. By having a bunch of live plants in there, there's a lot of surface that they can graze on. They'll kind of nibble at the plants and things, and it tides them over until their next round of food. So live plants, I think, are significant to successfully culturing scuds in any kind of quantity, because if they run out of food, their numbers just start declining immediately. So I use these to feed fish, but also to clean plants. They're the best algae eater in the world. So right now there's a big chunk of Java moss in there that kind of, the bottom part of the Java moss was starved for light, so it's kind of starting to brown up a little bit, and there's some algae in it and stuff. So just throw that in here, and as you can see, there's scuds all over it, and they're cleaning off any dead parts of that plant and any algae, and they'll just eat all that off. And so I throw plants in here routinely, a Java fern, Java moss, all kinds of plants, and the scuds will clean them up if they get choked with blackbeard algae or gets, and anything on them you don't want. And then after a few days in here, I'll take them out and put them back in their aquarium. Now, a word of caution is a lot of plants they won't eat. Like water Sprite, they'll kind of nibble on, but it still grows. But Java moss, for some reason, they really love, and they'll eat down to until it's just strings and there's no leaves left on it. So if you have mosses, just make sure that you remove them from the scud tank before it gets chewed down so much that it takes forever to come back. But that's really only mosses. Everything else they don't seem to eat like that. Well, maybe soft leaves things like anacris and stuff like that perhaps, but most plants that I've used, they haven't eaten quickly. The other thing you'll notice in this culture is this. So this is like a refugium, I guess, a refuge area, so that there's a lot of surface area there. They can hang out on that if they want. They do like to have stuff to grab onto. They need some kind of surface they can hold onto. So that's what that's for. But the main reason I have that in there, honestly, because they can grab onto the sponge and stuff like in these plants and things. But I put this in here for them, but also because anytime I'm starting up a new aquarium or need some cycled material, I can just grab some of these pumice stones out of here and throw them in that aquarium, and these are covered with beneficial bacteria. So it really helps with fish keeping to have kind of a reservoir of bioactive material at all times. That's what this is for. And as you can see, they're doing awesome. Now, I want to show you how I harvest these. So if you'll bear with me for half a sec, I'm going to grab a tripod here and get this kind of set up and show you how easy it is to harvest these. Just a sec, you'll stop wobbling in half a second here. Okay, a little longer than half a second, but okay, here we go. So there's the tripod. Let me just finish getting this set up here, and I'll show you how we do this. Okay, so grab a net. Here's how I do it. So I just grab a net, and it's a pretty fine net. So this thing, it's too big for the Scuds to swim through. See how fine that is? Just take that, I'm going to take the top off, and we might get sprayed a bit because the water's changing right now actually. But I just take this net, put it in here, put the food in it. Bring it up and shake them all off the food. And what you'll have in short order is a net absolutely full of Scuds, and you can feed this to your fish. Your fish are absolutely gonna love this. Don't know if that's really showing there, so I'm gonna put them back anyway. So all those Scuds are simple to catch because they concentrate on the food, and you can just net them right out. So that's kind of how I do it. Now there is another method for harvesting them that you can do, which is if you take a piece of Metalamat or really coarse sponge or something and put it on the bottom of the aquarium, maybe weigh it down a little bit so it stays on the bottom, then these guys will kind of colonize that, and you can, if you have small enough chunks of that, you can easily lift that out and shake the Metalamat out in a container of water and harvest your Scuds that way. So that's another method to do it. I just shake it off the food because I can get plenty of them really quick and easy that way. So anyway, that's how I culture Scuds. The fish love them. Puffers, if you have puffers and you're having trouble getting them to eat, small puffers, they'll absolutely love these. They'll fit in their mouth. They're not difficult to eat, but they do have a shell, so they do, like a crab or a shrimp would, so they do help wear down a little bit of the teeth. And they kind of, just the way they move gets that puffer's hunting instincts like really ready to go, because Scuds are pretty active. So they work great for, I have a bunch of Amazon puffers right now that came in really skinny and in bad shape, and the Scuds are helping them get back, to health. So they're very useful food. So anyway, that's kind of more in detail of how I culture the Scuds. I basically treat them like fish, feed them, change the water, and pretty easy to harvest. So hope that was useful. Hope that answers the questions that most of you have been having about them and how I do them. If you have more questions, please list them down below. We can discuss them, geek out, get them answered, and yeah, get you set up. Anyway, until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.